Gurave Gurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah. Shri Satyanandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nityananda Gaur Gadadhar Ji Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Radha Govinda Dev Radha Gopinath Ji Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaudiya Vaishnav Guru Parampara Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, all Bhakta Vrindas Ki Jai, Gaur Pramanand Hari Bol. So, good evening, and we are having today our Q&A, Istagosti, one last one, quote unquote last, at least part of our retreat, reaching its not end, but just a point of resting for a few months till the next 3D meeting. But I won't say they will be resting at all after all that we've gone through these 10 days. What to do with all that? I don't think resting is the answer. So there's no rest. There's no even resting point, what to speak about end. It's an ever-evolving, ongoing conversation. So anyhow, we are gathered together today after concluding our 7 explorations on the 7 pillars of radical personalism, 7 pillars that also constitute Tadatmya Sangha, this devotional alliance that somehow has manifested out of its own accord and which somehow is deeply sustained and nourished by these ideas of vulnerability, individuation, vulnerability and empowerment, individuation, non-dual thinking, healthy, proper, dignifying approach to the guru-disciple relationship, and other topics like coexisting with the unknown, divine ignorance, contemplative prayer, and what we talk today in the morning, unearthing heaven, reclaiming, redeeming our bond with matter. So I hope you had a nice meditative walk outside. Those who were able to do it, hope the barefoot element added some nuance to that. And the other exercises as well, trying to enter into sacred space, experiential sacred space where everything shows itself for what it is. So the exercise is just an organized endeavor to access reality for what it is. It's not that you are being just, manipulated to see something extraordinary when there is not. Actually, we are mostly manipulated the rest of the day when we are not seeing the extraordinariness. That speaks of manipulation. So sometimes we need to manipulate the manipulation so we can take our attention in the proper direction and just go for a walk like we will go on every day, but in a certain way with a certain framework or a certain premise and orientation. And I'm in heaven. What's going on? I thought I went for a walk only. So that's how every walk can be. If you have the intention, it's intentional. If you have the perspective, the intention, the sankalpa, the determination, it's not just today's walk, it's any walk. Like when Mahaprabhu sees the blade of grass and he says that's not a special blade of grass he's seeing that grows in Bengal in a certain way that reminds you of humility. It's the same blade of grass that we see on a daily basis. And it was not a particular tree that had some graffiti written on it, be tolerant. And he saw the tree, okay, tolerant in the tree. It was that tree and that tree. So it's just about putting on the right pair of lenses, the right glasses, the right spectacles to respect everything. So we are re-spectacling everything. And when you have proper spectacles, everything becomes spectacular. You have the word spectacle also? Not like this, but this is spectacle. That's from where spectacular comes. So try to make the connection between words. No? Try to see how the origins of our own language were way deeper and mystic than what we think. Something spectacular has to do with you're putting certain spectacles to see reality in that way. No? So anyhow, today we are gathering for Istagosti, Q&A, whatever, Q&E, quest and exploration, whatever reflections, ruminations, intimations you may like to share, maybe related mostly, but whatever, but related mostly to yesterday we talked on contemplative prayer, today of Unearthing Heaven, but also is the last, quote-unquote last Q&A, so maybe something else comes, something else wants, needs to be invoked, manifested, so all weathers of the heart are welcome. Sam.
I have a question. So I feel like during kirtan, this has happened a few times. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but sometimes you feel like Krishna's inviting you to dance in a way, and I'm like, I'm not doing that because that's embarrassing.
No, that's not embarrassing.
No, and it's not. And I felt like a part of me wanted to, but I was like, I was facing that as well because from as a child, I was very shy. So felt like it was embarrassing. Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? but I felt like Krishna was like, it's not too late. You can still just get up. And I just couldn't do it. And I just thought, I said sorry. I just was like, I'm sorry, I let you down, And then I had to remind myself that Krishna, if it was capable to let Krishna down, then because that's not who he is, No one, because we've had so many lifetimes. So it's like, wait, did I say I had a question? Yes.
Yes, I'm waiting.
If we don't answer, I feel like it answers itself. But if we don't answer that call, is it possible for Krishna to feel like, I wish you'd have done that kind of feeling, or I wish you'd have done it, stepped up and done it, what I was calling you for? Is that possible for Krishna to feel like that, to be like, I wish you'd done that for yourself, kind of?
What will you say? What do you feel about it?
I feel like it's an open invitation, and there's you can always dance for Krishna. Even if you don't dance in that moment, okay, it's answered itself. But you can just dance for Krishna anytime. There's no, maybe that's what Krishna was trying to tell me, is that you can dance in the heart, and you can dance anywhere at any time, and the invitation isn't like, well, you didn't do it, done. Sorry, mate. So
is that Krishna?
No, that's my inner critic. But
it's good to separate between those two, because sometimes we don't do that, and the inner critic becomes Krishna for all intents and purposes, becomes godlike, omnipotent, omni everything, so to say. Next time you know what to do when the dancing invitation comes.
Next time I'll just
right on the end of the sofa. You also pushed him.
Next time you two also know what to do when he's on the edge of the sofa.
When the kids then picks up.
Next time I'll just get up at the beginning. I'll just like, I'm getting into this.
And you can, the scripture describe dancing is one of the natural, like anubhavs, like what follows the emotion. You are feeling something, and anu means like what comes after. So you feel something and you are carried to express that in one way or another, and one of them described in the scripture is dancing. Because dancing is an overflowing of your insight, no? So you cannot just remain sitting. It's too much of a torture to be seated when something wants to celebrate existence. So yeah, dancing is kind of one of the most natural ways of celebrating life, and you can attain perfection by dancing. Rupa Goswami says that one of the 64 main expressions of bhakti is dancing. So you can dance, and he gives example of devotees who attain the goal of life dancing. He gives example of one lady. It's called Chandrakanti, and she danced the whole night for the deity and attained spiritual world after that night.
Wow.
A full immersive dancing. So just to take it to that extreme, to kind of reply to your question, like if that's the case, yeah, no problem dancing. Rasa wants to dance.
Well, I was experiencing a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Really, and I was wrestling with myself, and hearing the arguments that Maharaj just said. Oh, it's an overflow. It's natural. You should do it. You can do it. I was afraid I was going to disturb other people, and I can see the necessity for individuation and to allow ourselves. Because if I would have stood up and followed what I wanted to do, it would have encouraged you to do what you wanted to do. And how being our own selves actually encourages other people to be their own selves. So sorry, I didn't stand up and dance.
Next time you both know what to do.
Yeah.
We still have a few questions before concluding, so who knows?
Next retreat we can have all night dancing.
That was Prabhupada's
cool.
melody. The first melody that we learned from Prabhupada, and he taught us to dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as long as it comes from a place of irresistible call, that's always valid. That's always will ignite in others the right response, because it comes from individuation. It comes from an acknowledgement of who I am and what I'm feeling and how I'm being chased to what's coming through me. So that naturally creates the impact on everyone else witnessing that, and whether it is dancing or doing anything, no? If you're honest with yourself and you do anything, wash a pot, dance, play an instrument, anything that fosters authenticity in everyone else, because you are being authentic. So that's empowering to others, right? So, yeah. And of course, if someone is dancing, doesn't mean that everyone else has to dance. But those who want to dance, they will feel inspired. Those who want to dance in another way, nonetheless will witness that unique expression of individuation, and it's like, nice. Yeah.
I just remembered that the recent talk from Danya on Tadatnya Live, she was saying how each emotion is associated with energy. Like it can be like a lot of energy associated with each of that, and it has to be expressed.
Mm-hmm.
So like in Kirtan, you might be like feeling some emotions that has the energy associated with that, and you could express that. I mean, naturally, I think that comes out as an expression in the form of dance.
Karuneshwari wants to dance.
This morning you were mentioning that the Uttama-adhikari, when he looks at the material world, he sees Krishna everywhere.
Bhagavatam mentions that. I'm just repeating that, just in case to clarify. Yeah.
And then you said, and his vision is the correct one. So we've also.
I mean, I didn't say his vision is the correct one, but like is how reality looks like in its most perfect way.
How reality looks like in its most perfect way. Okay.
Just to not say the other ones are looking out wrong and they're.
Yeah, it's most perfect way. So we've heard before that also the Uttama-adhikari, he sees that absolutely everyone is serving Krishna except him. And I've never understood that even in theory. And I've often thought, well, you know, if conditioned jivas are not in that consciousness that they're serving Krishna, but he sees that they are, what is going on?
It's delusional. It's the highest stage of reality. Delusion. Yeah, how to understand that? Well, probably you have to get there and see it for yourself, because how much can we speak from here about that? But few thoughts are like, of course, as we say many times, if you are in the highest, in the Mount Everest of bhakti, so to say, in the highest peaks of realization, you get a glimpse of how much more is there. So by comparison or by contrast, even if you have this greatest love, you find so much love is there to be loved. So by contrast, you feel, I don't have anything. I have no love. Again, like we quoted Mahaprabhu, Na prema gandhasti darapi haro me. In me, there is not even the aroma of love. Again, it seems like delusional, because nobody has more love than him. If he has no love, nobody has love. That's for sure. If he has no love, nobody has love, because he is love, volcanically expressed. So this is this paradoxical nature. He has more, so much love, that he starts to see love for what it actually is, which is an ever-evolving substance of endless waves of expansiveness. So it's like, yeah, I have love, but I have no love. I have no love. So that's on one side. So that's what Sanatana Goswami says. The more love you have, the more humility you have. Because again, the love makes you humble by force, in the good sense, by necessity, because having love means realizing how much more love can be had. I'm feeling in comparison to all that I can have, I have nothing. Not in a depressive way, not in a way that you want to kill yourself or anything like that, but it's a very unique form of humility that we can't understand it until and unless we are there. It's very sweet at the same time. And so that on one side, and and from that place, Anuttama Bhagavata may say, I'm not serving Krishna. No. Because he is seeing, or she is seeing, how much more Krishna can be served, loved. No? When we say served, we mean loved. There's no difference between the two. But now how to explain that the Uttama Bhagavat sees that everyone else is serving Krishna? Well, we may technically say, I mean, there's lots of people who are deeply covered by layers of the opposite of service. So why he's saying they are serving? Are they actually serving? Or they are not serving and he's wrong? And he's wrong and I'm right. Because we are seeing that they are not serving, but he sees that they are serving. So are we more... do we have a better judgment than the Uttama Bhagavat? Maybe we should stay here and not get there, because we can see reality more. So how to explain that? Of course, it's paradoxical. There are a few things to say in that connection. One will be, when it is said that the Uttama Bhagavat sees everyone serving Krishna, we will say that he sees everyone is serving a purpose in Krishna's lila. No? Because remember, when we say lila, we don't only mean lila in the spiritual world. All this is called Shristi lila also. Jiva Goswami uses that expression in the Sandarbhas. No? The whole creation, material creation, is called Shristi lila. We didn't talk about that today too much, but so it's a lila of its own unique way. So each participant of the lila are serving a purpose in that, even if they don't know they are part of something called Shristi lila. So from that place, we could say the Uttama-adhikari is saying everyone is serving. Another explanation will be that an Uttama-adhikari is seeing everyone for who they are. And everyone is who they are, not only who they are, or yes, who they are. Yeah. Who are you? You are your potential. So the Uttama-adhikari is seeing everyone according to all that they can be. So in potential, everyone is a servant of Krishna. So they are seeing everyone in that direction. In that sense, they are seeing everyone is serving Krishna. Because everyone is a servant. In potential, they are identifying everyone with their brightest potential, which is in service to Krishna. So we could say that in the generosity of their glance, they will see everyone from that place. And a few other explanations could be there, but I think those two are maybe the more relatable to our stage. No? Maybe as closer as we get to that realization ourselves, naturally we'll start to understand more, even beyond words, about what they are seeing. Because again, it's a vision they are having. How much we can put in words that still we have our own vision. So yeah. Does it make some sense?
Yeah.
You have something in connection to the second? Yeah.
When we were sharing today from our exercise, this kind of came out, and I think it might tie in with the first explanation that you gave. But several of us had like an experience of the non-dual existence of the whole and part.
Mm-hmm.
Like how they were like complete within themselves, and the whole and the part were like not really separate from each other. The whole is in the part, and the part is in the whole. So I think also that leaves creates a space to see everyone as serving, because the Uttama-adhikari is seeing the wholeness, the completeness of things, and everything belonging already, everything connected, everything already belonging.
Sometimes also an example is given, which is that we could make the case that's basically one point in my first book, the Bhakti is not inherent in the Jiva, but our brightest potential is in connection to Bhakti. So an Uttama-adhikari may see everyone in terms of their potential, which is Bhakti, and in that sense it's seeing everyone as a devotee, as a servant, although the servant is sleeping at present. So sometimes that saying is there, even servant is sleeping, but still a servant. No, so from that place they are saying, okay, everyone is serving Krishna. Now they are sleeping, a few of them, but they are servants. Because sometimes we shouldn't. Some of these statements also do not necessarily need to be taken literally. Now we could say the vision of that higher devotee may be also that they are acknowledging the connectedness of everything with Krishna, and again their potential in service, and that's what they mean by they see everyone is serving Krishna. That's one option also. And of course, again, we have like the more divine madness, ecstatic type, like the gopis, and they're seeing everything like having more bhakti than them, and they're projecting their own bhava into their environment. So we do the same here as conditioned souls. Now we project our own mundane bhava, if you want to put it that way, and our own ideas, and we think, oh, whatever. If I'm full of fear, I may project that and see everyone else is full of fear, or this or that, and so there's some type of divine projection that can occur in the realm of the divine love as well, no? Due to the uncontainableness of love. No, it's inside of us, but it starts to overflow and spill and color the environment as well. No? So
I don't know if this is my child-like conception, but I have an idea that everyone is moving towards Krishna ultimately. Everyone follows my path in all respects. It may be many lifetimes, but there is a movement that going. And the Uttama-adhikari is seeing that everyone is serving. The many lifetimes time is just shrunk to.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we were talking about that in the lecture I gave today, in the, like how reality is all of reality is kind of evolving into a particular direction. We know which is that particular direction. No? So that's another way of putting it. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Rabindra, you were raising your hand?
Yeah, I was just saying, in our sharing today, Bhaktivinoda said something amazing at one point, that, from Krishna's perspective, we are all him. We are all parts of him. So in that way, it suggests, like it's always a reciprocation of Krishna, whether we know about it or whether we accept it or not. So of all the sleeping souls, Krishna is still seeing them as himself. But he knows they're sleeping, so that the more enlightened Jiva, he's also seeing that Uttama-adhikari would also be seeing. So that kind of high level, but yeah, everyone's a devotee ultimately because it's always Krishna. And then I was thinking, also this question that came up the other day when I was speaking with Ganesh, really about this mood of the service of the gopis. But it seems to me are kind of more kind of logical and natural that you'd be in that way. That reciprocation with Krishna is with Krishna and also his internal potency rather than so you're serving both. And then but then you see like in pastimes like rasa where gopis are in like to enjoy with Krishna separately. And then the whole pastime. So how to understand that difference in approach.
So yeah, we were talking the other day about this. Of course, in Rasa Lila, in Bhagavatam, sometimes nowadays devotees speak about use terms like Manjari Bhav, for example. You may have heard that at some point. Technically speaking, that term does not appear in the scriptures anywhere. No, Manjari Bhav. You may find the word Manjari, but Manjari Bhav, the two of them together as a concept, that's not there. No? Which again, I'm not saying by that this is bogus. I'm just saying that's not there. In a book like Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, the height of the Bhagavatam is the Rasa Lila that has been emphasized by our acharyas, but still we don't find the word Manjari there. Even Radha is not mentioned there directly. Of course, again, we have our own interpretation and reading of the Bhagavatam in a way that our acharyas indirectly show all those things. None of those things are like overtly in the book. So Radha is there, and the mood of Radha is there, and she's the main gopi, the one that lives with Krishna in the midst of the Rasa Lila, and there's ways to explain that. And there's one verse in the Bhagavatam when there are some gopis assisting the main gopi, so that's considered to be like manjaris present there. But again, that's very much like hinted in a very indirect way in the Bhagavatam. It's not overtly clear. And as you mentioned, the main gopi referenced that the Bhagavatam gives us more of gopis wanting to have direct reunion with Krishna, or sambhog, union, connection, romantic encounter, which is legal, so to say. We have nothing against. No, again, this is the problem. Comes when some of us start to be reductionistic and like, only this is the only possibility in our sampradaya, and this is the highest, and whomever goes for something else is not getting the real thing. And sorry for you guys, but no, that's not the real thing. And no, that's not healthy, in my opinion. Somehow our acharyas have, I would say there is a whole way to understand our tradition in how it converges into this emphasis on Manjari Bhav. Although Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and sorry if I become a little technical, I have to, he doesn't use the expression Manjari Bhav, he uses an expression called Bhavolas Rati. Bhavolas, which means like Bhava Ulas, like what's the word in English? Exaltation? With exaltation of Bhava, which refers to, instead of, he speaks about Madhurya Rasa there, of course, romantic love. The books of the Goswamis somehow are an elaboration on the Bhagavatam. All the books that the Goswamis write are imply taking the Bhagavatam and churning. And that's why many of the books of the Goswamis literally include the name Bhagavatam, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Lagu Bhagavatamrita. So many commentaries on the Bhagavatam by the Goswamis. So all the books of the Goswamis are an extension of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So for us, in our vision and faith, all the things that were not said in the Bhagavatam directly are being extracted by the Goswamis in their commentaries and in their books. So Rupa Goswami will speak about romantic love in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, more in detail in Ujjval Nilamani. There he will speak about 5 types of gopis. One of those will be the manjaris. Even in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he mentions there are 2 types of romantic love: Sambhogicha Mai, Tat Bhavi Chatmika Mai. So one is Sambhoga Icha. Some Icha means desire, and Sambhoga means union. So Sambhogicha Mai means the romantic love whose nature is the desire for direct union with Krishna, which is the main thing conveyed in the Bhagavatam directly. But at the same time, there is Tat Bhavi Chamai, which means Tat Bhav, means like an identification with the Bhav or of another gopi, and a service to that Bhav, and a vicarious experience of that Bhav. So in other words, and this is of course what we will call Manjari Bhav, or sometimes Radha Dasyam, Tat Bhavi Chatmika. That's literally the technical term of Rupa Goswami Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So the experience of the Manjaris they are not having direct union with Krishna, although there is debate in the community about that, as usual. And it's okay. I'm not saying that's bad. There's ongoing conversation. Sometimes there's not a conversation, but my point is, there are reasons to read certain section in Shastra. Like, for example, there's one verse in the beginning of Raghunath Das Goswami's Vilap Kusumanjali, which is one of the main books, where though he doesn't use the word Manjari Bhav, but he's speaking from his identity as a Manjari, Rati Manjari. He's praying to Radha from that place and expressing the mood of a Manjari, and naturally. So in the beginning, there's one verse in which he is talking, Raghunath Das Goswami, as Rati Manjari in his identity as Manjari to Rupa Goswami in his identity as Rupa Manjari. He's like, it has some crookedness and jokes there, and he's saying like, oh, what happened, Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, what happened to your lips? No, it seems like a parrot was biting your lips, or the point is that he's seeing some lip biting in Rupa Manjari's lips, and she says like, but your husband was not at home today, so maybe a parrot did that. No? Like implying it was Krishna. No? And then and the verse lends itself to think, okay, then Krishna had something to do directly with Rupa Manjari, and some commentators will say that, but there will be others who will say, no, that was Krishna doing that to Radha, but by Rupa Manjari's identification with the bhava of Radha, that happened, like the Christian stigmata. No? You become so absorbed in that experience that it even becomes manifest in your own body. No? So, but again, the verse lends to both ideas. No? So there is place that there are some Vaishnavas who consider that Manjaris may have some direct connection with Krishna. Some others who will say may say that's not the case, although Krishna may try, but they will show their loyalty to Radha's camp, so to say, right? But yeah, I will say that it was something that was revealed through time, in at least in chronological time. We are not saying with this that in eternity that start to exist at one point. No? That the whole idea of Manjari Bhav unfolds through the centuries doesn't mean that only when it officially came it started to exist. Because we will say, no, Rupa Manjari was Rupa Manjari for eternity. So it's just in the realm of space and time, some things unfold in chronological sequence, but that doesn't mean they are not eternal, right? So in this way, we can find some unfolding of that, no? The Bhagavatam, Madhurya Rasa, but that the direct union side of Madhurya Rasa, Sambhogichamai, with the gopis. Not even Radha mentioned that much. Then we reach to other books, Goswami's books, they start to point where Radha is in the Bhagavatam. In this verse, this speaks of Radha. This verse indirectly is talking about her, Anaya Radhito Nonyam. This verse, this other verse. Other books from the Goswamis directly talking about her, praying to her in their identities as Manjaris. Then after the Goswamis, some other Goswamis, devotees, composing books where there's a more like systematic, if you want to put it that way, not formulaic, but just like scheduled daily meditation on one's identity as a Manjari, and all these additions came in time. So and I'm also saying that because, as you may have heard in some lineages of Vaishnavism, there is this idea of Siddha Deha or Ekadasha Bhav, that you receive the ingredients or elements of your spiritual identity, and you on a daily basis perform Shmaram, remembrance of that identity. But that's not mentioned in directly as a sadhana in the books of the Goswamis, nor in the biographies of Mahaprabhu. With this, I'm not saying that's bogus or bad. It's just like an unfolding practice or meditation that may help some, but that doesn't necessarily mean that at one point everyone has to be doing that also. Because again, we have all those who think this is a high thing, only this is real, everything else is, I mean, that's always everywhere. So I don't know if that helps or something else.
It's the best description of her in this lifetime.
There is more, yeah. But we have to begin somewhere,
Yeah.
Yeah, there is much more to say, of course, about Manjari Bhav and the different moods and verses. And of course, in one sense, it's very high and very confidential. And of course, we don't want to just talk about that very cheaply. But at the same time, it's very, very beautiful and very if it's properly understood, it's very based on surrender and giving yourself and dedication and self-forgetfulness in divine love and empathy and connection with the object of your affection and so on and so forth. No? So there's a place to appreciate those things from a place that also can inspire our own journey wherever we are now. No? Even if someone may say, I don't have a clue which is my inner affinity. If one learns to hear about that as much as one is ready to hear with proper context, that can also be inspiring.
I wonder if that's, when Prabhupada mentions, there's always a tendency to sahaja. So if the jiva in his devotional ecstasy considers himself like directly going to Krishna, so that other side, could that be, maybe that's sahaja?
Yeah, I will. It's interesting because even the word sahaja is not a bad word, actually.
No, it's not.
Because sahaja means natural, interestingly. Sahaja, no? Sahaja. Saha means with, and ja means like janma, born with something, so it's natural. So what we generally criticize is what's called prakriti sahaja. No, those who like mundanely imitate the Leela of Radha and Krishna and engage in selfish exploitation of one another in the name of romantic union of the divine couple. That's prakriti sahaja. Then we have sahaja, which could be say, okay, you're not doing that type of gross imitation, but somehow you're rushing to a practice or to a stage that is not your moment. So that could be also termed. But then we have the aprakrita sahaja. Now, aprakrita means it seems mundane, but it's supra-mundane. So the gopis are aprakrita sahaja. Sahaja, remember, means something born with. No, so you have some spontaneous attraction, which is supra-mundane, and it's natural. It's so natural that you cannot but go there. So, but again, I wouldn't say that trying to have a direct relationship with Krishna is sahaja, because again, there are many devotees who want that. And it's valid. I mean, Rupa Goswami said you can have direct romantic union with Krishna in eternity. That's great. So that's not sahaja. That may not be the main cup of tea in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, but there's a jar of tea filled with that waiting for those who will like. Yeah.
It's just, like Prabhupada says, we can fault that sahaja, or misunderstanding within sahaja, and then impersonalism. So
yeah. Let me share one verse with you that depicts the mood of the manjaris in a very nice way. This is from Ujjwal Nilamani. So this is from Rupa Goswami. Ujjwal Nilamani 889. Radharangala Sattvarujjvala Kalasankarana Prakriya Chaturyottarameva Shivanamaham Govindan Samprartaye Yena Shishavadu Janotvatam Anuraja Prapanchavado Natsukyam Bhavadanga Sangamara Sipyalangame Alambane Manmana. So the manjari is talking to Krishna. Right. Krishna is in front of a manjari trying to make some advances. He says, Govinda, I have only one desire: to have the ever greater intelligence to be able to serve you and Radha on the field of your ever expanding ecstatic romance, so that you experience newer and newer bliss. For by such service, unlimited gopis have attained the very limit of the fulfillment of their desires. Therefore, O Lord of Gokul, my mind never becomes eager for your direct embrace. It does not crave for such enjoyment. Please just engage me in that service. The manjari is praying to Krishna. And Krishna is like, can we have some? I have a prayer for you. So this is kind of the general spirit of the manjaris is presented in the scripture. But again, it's not that she's against Krishna. She has nothing to do with him. She's like, I really want to serve you in connection to her, which I think that's the thing you want the most, right? And so in one sense, on the contrary, instead of being displeasing to Krishna or less direct to Krishna, is in one sense we will say something that pleases him the most, and vice versa. No? So, yeah. But again, in one sense, they don't want that direct union, we will say in general, but by vicarious experience, by stigmata, we will say arguably they are having the experience. Because it describes in Shastra all the things that Radha experiences in her romantic union with Krishna. All that is experienced by the Manjaris vicariously. So in one sense, that's happening. But it's not something that it happens more as a byproduct of their service to Radha and Krishna, not something they look for separate. Not that, okay, I will serve Radha and Krishna so I end up experience, but no, it's not. That calculation is not there. So that's a subtle difference. Yeah. Something else? Yeah. Shatwadi Pratik.
You were saying how Vrindavan is a state of consciousness.
Srila Maharaj says that. Just quoting my sources, just in case.
I heard from you this morning.
Yeah. But if you hear from me usually, you'll know that I'm quoting Srila Maharaj saying that.
Okay, so I was thinking that, if it's a state of consciousness, then you can be anywhere and experience that. Like physically, you can be anywhere and experience that. But still, like when we actually go to Vrindavan, in India, Vrindavan, like we still experience like the potency there.
Yeah.
Which we don't really experience when we are away.
So that's a real question. Not so much why we experience something when we go there, but why we don't experience something when we are somewhere else.
Yeah. I guess my question really is, it seems like the physical place has something.
I have nothing against that idea. Yeah, and of course, that there is that emphasis in Shastra, and there is that, how to say, dimension, like Dhambhas, Mathurabhas, Rajabhas, no, residing in the Dham or visiting the Dham has some power. But we will say again, that's, I don't want to say that's for the neophyte, but I'm saying that's especially applicable for those who cannot perceive the Dham outside of the geographical location, which is most of us. So many times, yeah, that's what it's prescribed. You visit the holy places, or you leave them, or you stay, then you will have some experience, some perception. But that doesn't mean that you cross the line. Okay, this is the marking line between whatever Navadvip and the next town in Bengal, and okay, now I'm out of the circle. And if you have the proper consciousness, again, that's everywhere. Again, we may not have that consciousness, and it's recommended that we can visit those sacred places. And again, it's not only about the place, it's about the people in the place, what's going on in the place. And that's why in some cases you have the correct people doing the correct thing outside of the geographical location of the Dham, and you can still have access to the Dham. Once Srila Prabhupada, when he was in the traveling, as he was usually in the West, and at one point he was very sick, sometime before leaving, a few years before, and he wrote to Srila Siddhar Maharaj, and he asked him, okay, I don't know if I will die. I mean, at any moment. I mean, he had reasons to think that. That almost happened a few times, even in the Jaladutta, as you know. So I don't know if I will die. So should I, he asked Siddhartha Maharaj, should I return to Vrindavan? Or should I continue traveling and sharing the message? And if I die, I die. And Siddhartha Maharaj said, you continue traveling. And the implication was, you're already in Vrindavan. So, of course, he returned eventually to Vrindavan in 77 and all that, but it could have been in another way also, and it will have been less glorious. That's my point, no? Because sometimes, like, okay, he was able to be in Vrindavan, and it's beautiful in itself. But what if he passed away in, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he passed away in Kolkata. Kolkata is not a sacred place, according to normal estimation. But who will dare to think, oh, that was less than perfect? If he would have passed in Vrindavan, Puri, now that would have been ideal. But he passed in Kolkata. So now nobody will dare to think even that, because we know where he was. Again, he told, I would say in the morning, I never went to Kolkata, he said. And you visit Bag Basar Gaudiya Mat, and you visit his room when he passed away, and you can still feel his presence there. So it's like, this is not a joke, no? So for Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, I would like to die in Kurukshetra. And it's like very unusual for a Gaudiya Vaishnava to say, I would like to die in Kurukshetra, but it's coming from a place, of course, that didn't happen, but he said that from a place of unique service disposition, as we know, Krishna meeting with the gopis in Kurukshetra in the solar eclipse, and being together but not being able to unite, and rather being in such a necessity, Krishna in front of him but not able to consummate the union. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur thought, that moment she's in such a need of service. I want to enter that moment for eternity and assist her in her highest need. So again, spiritual world's state of consciousness. Even if Bhaktivinoda Thakur would have left in Kurukshetra, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta left in Kolkata, even if Prabhupada would have left in London, in Houston, in Caracas, in Mexico, doesn't matter. Again, we are talking about great personalities. Well, we may not be able to be there yet, and that's why visiting holy places, yeah, of course, they have a very unique effect. But again, and it's a unique overt effect that we can get in a more direct way. But sometimes the dams get covered also externally. If you have the perception, it never gets covered. But for example, I've seen devotees talking about the dam 50 years ago and now, and arguably there is a few layers covering the dam. Yes. Right? Still, we feel Shakti again. The Shakti is still there. So it's not that the Shakti is diminishing, but our capacity to draw the essence of the dam may be more limited by our own limitations. No? The dam remains the dam. All those coverings, it's us putting all that stuff on top of the dam. No? Us putting the signs and building the stuff and the golf campus and all that stuff. Right? But the dam is the dam. And again, the dam, the localized dam on earth is the dam with its Shakti. And if you are very bold, you will be able to live in the dam as a state of consciousness, which again is high. But at the end of the day, you have to be in the dam, ideally, with a state of consciousness also. That's what Jiva Goswami comments with Rupa Goswami, as we know, he says you have to recite one of the 5 main angas, not you have, but one of the 5 main angas of bhakti, Sadhu Sangha Namakirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Bhasa Sri Murtira Shradha Seva, is to reside in a dam. And Jiva Goswami comments, if you cannot reside physically, at least reside mentally. So he's pointing to that point, a state of consciousness. The point he's making is better to be outside of the dam physically, but internally there, that inside of the Dham physically and internally out. And there's a lot of that. So who is more close? Who is closer to the Dham? Of course, some people is inside the Dham internally, it's externally, and some people is outside of the Dham in every sense as well. We have all the combinations. So, but the fact that Jiva Goswami says you can be in the Dham internally shows that it does not depend on the geographical aspect. So yeah, there's special Shakti there. I have nothing against that. I'm going there in a few days. So for some reason we are going, but also we are going as we were saying the other day. Sometimes we create sacred space to remind us that everywhere is sacred space. So we may go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Navadvip to receive enough bhakti samskars. So when we go, quote unquote, out, we are reminded that we are not going out, that all those things exist in a permanent internal portal, so to say. And there are many associates of Mahaprabhu that never went to Vrindavan, for example. Arguably the most important ones. Gadadhar Pandit never went to Vrindavan. Swarup Dhamma never went to Vrindavan. Ramananda Roy never went to Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu went for a few days, but not much. Of course, they were in other dhams, but just to make different points from different places. Gadadhar is Sri Radha in her most esoteric moment, but she's not. She didn't go to Vrindavan ever. So how to understand that? She's Vrindavaneshwari, but she's not allowed to go. Actually, that's what happens, as you know. Mahaprabhu is going to Vrindavan and Gadadhar is joining. Mahaprabhu say, no, you stay here. And there are, of course, many, that's another conversation. There are various reasons why Mahaprabhu needed Gadadhar out of Vrindavan, so to say. I hope that helps.
Yes, very much. Yeah, I especially like the point that you make, that it depends, who is there. Like, meaning the sadhus who live there are actually, adding to the...
Yeah, there is mafia in the Dham. There's traffic. There are kidnapping, prostitution, drugs, all black market. I mean, there are all those stuff there. For one sense, that's not the Dham. That's happening in an external covering, but that's not the Dham. So then comes the thing, okay, what's the Dham then? And we have to speak in internal terms. What's the Dham? Because you can say, oh no, he's a Brajavasi. Why? Because he was physically born in Vrindavan, though he's conducting a whole business, whole mafia and killing people. What's Brajavas? Then you have to deconstruct these words and take them boil them down to the most essential meaning. And that has nothing to do with your body, where you were born, where you are localized geographically, but where you are internally. Yeah. Many great Vaishnavas, again, never went to Vrindavan, but they are eternal Brajavasis in many ways. So what does it mean to be a Brajavasi? What's Braja? No, Braja is not a geographical place. Again, it's a land of emotion. So as long as you are aligned with that emotion, you are there. Braj means to go. Braj is a verb also. No? Krishna said in the Gita, Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braj. Of course, many Gaudiya commentators will read that word as Vrindavan. Krishna is saying, abandon everything and just surrender to me, come to Vrindavan. And it's fine, it's their own bhava. But Braja there means come to me, go. It's a verb, to walk, to go. So Braja means that land where everything and everyone is going, is moving, is walking to please Krishna, Radha and Krishna in a certain way. And Braja Vas means to reside. So to reside in that type of mood of service, and that residence is always internal. Yes.
To throw something into the fire of the Brajvasi thing.
The Brajavasi thing.
You can see where my consciousness is at.
With all respect to the Brajavasis.
You know, there's also the thing, is almost like you can buy your way into being a Brajvasi, because, you know, okay, this sounds really silly, but it's what is said, that if you're born in Vrindavan, Brajvasi. If you die in Vrindavan, back to Godhead. If you get married in Vrindavan, Brajvasi. These are the things that are like...
I never heard that one.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because when my son was going to get married in Mayapur, he didn't know that, and I found that written somewhere. I was like, oh. And so then some devotees go, I want to have a Brajvasi child because Ki Jai, and then fly there while they're heavily pregnant.
Yeah, I know a few of them. Yeah.
It doesn't always turn out good, but it's...
Yeah. So... You know my answer, Jamona. You know my answer.
To just throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the ball.
I like the third point. Getting married in Vrindavan is Brajavasi. I don't want to change that status now. We are Brajavasis.
Of course, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, I don't want to diminish the positive influence in any of that, but yeah, we shouldn't take these words lightly or for granted. No? So that to me sounds a little bit formulaic again. No? Like I got born there, I got my baby there, I died there, I get married there, but then you go to the, again, as you said, you go to the statistics, and not necessarily all those boys born in Vrindavan are Dhruva Maharaj, so to say. No, not all those couples married in Vrindavan never end up in divorce. So that's my point. I'm not saying that there may not be some positive influence, but at the end of the day, it's all about intention and consciousness, from which place you're doing that internally. Krishna doesn't care for anything else. We still insist so much on trying to buy Krishna on externals. And someone will say, no, we get married in Vrindavan, it's not external. It can be pretty much an external thing, from which place you're doing it. No? So at the end of the day, everything is an internal consideration. Because again, Vrindavan is not external. It's internal. Vrindavan is not something external. It's a land of emotion, a spiritual emotion, bhava. So it's made of that. That's utterly profound. So I will say in that case, there are degrees of talking about being a Brajavasi. You can be a biological Brajavasi. You were born there. But that doesn't make you Brajavasi in every other sense of the word. Just by being born. It's similar to say I was born in a Brahmin family and I'm a Brahmin. What's the difference? It's saying the same pattern. I was born in a Goswami family and I'm a Goswami. I don't know, my guru, my papa is a guru, so I will be a guru by inheritance. But what's your adhikar? What's your qualification? What's your state of consciousness? That's the only question Krishna will ask, not which are your credentials or your affiliation or your membership cards. It's like he doesn't see that. So yeah, I'm not utterly condemning or criticizing doing all that, but if that leads to an utter toxic sense of certainty, like I'm a Brajavasi, my kids are Brajavasis, we are Brajavasis, that's not Brajavas. Basically, that's not the Brajavasi humility. No? Again, I mean, the real Brajavasi, the eternal Brajavasi, the Ragatmika Brajavasi, the eternal associate of Bhagavan who are made, whose Atma is made of Raga Atmika. They're made of love of Krishna. They're all eternally there. And when they see someone, a devotee coming from outside of Vrindavan, visiting like Narad Muni, they will see each other and say, there's a Vaishnava coming. Let's go and get his association and get teaching from him. That's the mood of a Brajavasi. It's not like, oh, there comes a non-Brajavasi. Let's show our Brajavasi credentials to him and humble him. Hey, Narad Muni, here we are, Brajavasis. Who are you? Oh. But I've seen people doing that. No, coming to me in India, say, I'm Brajavasi. I'm like, okay. And I continue. I mean, I will humble myself in front of that as they expect me to humble. That's not Brajavas. It's not like just demanding respect, position, donations. I'm Brajavasi, I'm Brajavasi, I'm Brajavasi, I'm Brajavasi, I'm Brajavasi. I mean, the more you say I'm Brajavasi, the less you are. It's like we were talking today, If you have love of Krishna, you won't say I have love of Krishna. It doesn't feel like that. And to be Brajavasi means to be a unit of love there. So it means you're humbled by that fact. So you won't be like showing off your Brajavasiness to anyone. So that's what I will say. For me, if someone got married in Vrindavan or got married in London, doesn't make any difference, to be honest. I mean, you won't impress me by telling me I was married in Vrindavan. I mean, I don't need to impress. I don't want to impress. I don't care for being impressed. My point is like, if you try to, to prove how bona fide is your marriage by the place you were married at, it's like, that doesn't say anything. But Maharaj, I was born in the Vatican, or I was born in whatever, next to the Taj Mahal, or I was born next to the whatever. You find your sacred spot, but how's your marriage going on? How you're treating your wife? How you're treating your husband? What's marriage for you? That I don't care. But I was born in Vrindavan, Maharaj. Great, beautiful. I'm not denying that, but how you are honoring that birth in Vrindavan? How you are keeping up with the momentum of being born in Vrindavan? If you just take your birth in Vrindavan as an excuse to do nothing else, but just claiming your whole lifetime that you were born in Vrindavan, that's like, you are not doing justice to your birth in Vrindavan. No, I was born in Vrindavan. All my life, I'm Brajavasi, I'm born in Vrindavan, Brajavasi. So you don't have to do all the things you actually have to do by being born in Vrindavan. Actually, being born in Vrindavan is a big commitment. It's no joke. It's not like... But again, many of us still want to embrace magical thinking. Born in Vrindavan, or I'm dying in Vrindavan. Once I remember someone asked this question: if someone dies in Vrindavan or at the holy place, does that person go to the spiritual world? It's like, I don't know. Again, it's not a formula. It's not a formula. I mean, what were you thinking? Where were your heart? Where were you at dying in Vrindavan? I mean, a serial killer can casually be hiding in Vrindavan because he's been persecuted by the army, and he got killed in Vrindavan by the army. He went to Vrindavan. Probably, I'm not saying no, but also I wouldn't make that like a mass rule. Oh, he was in Vrindavan, and he was sick, and they took him to a hospital in Delhi, and he died in Delhi. Oh, he will have died one day before he will have made it. No, so we enter into that type, like, again, of magical thinking. And again, at the end of the day, the real answer, as we talk these days, we shouldn't even care. If we are properly established in our bhakti siddhanta, in our devotional siddhanta, if someone was sincerely practicing, that's it. I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care if he got to Golok in this lifetime, the next one, because I don't care, because that person shouldn't care. Follow me, because as we talk these days, bhakti is the means, bhakti is the goal. I'm already doing what I want to do for eternity. If I'm properly aligned with that, I'm just plunged into bhakti and plugged into bhakti. And if I have to return here, I'll return here, no problem. I have to go be born in Mars, let's go to Mars. Whatever. No. So that shouldn't be even a concern. All this calculation of dying here, dying there. As we said the other day, what Prabhupada said, devotee so happy and with bhakti and so content there that he and ideally so absorbed that when she dies, they do not even notice they have died. Instead of making all the calculation. I'm not condemning him. Someone says that he's going to leave and he just to go to Vrindavan. I mean, I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm just hopefully lovingly criticizing when that gets too much of a magical formula. It goes to, and when we just take for granted things. No, if I just die in Vrindavan and go on there, if I'm just born there, I make it. If I'm buried there, and I just can, I don't need to do anything. It's just when we enter into that taken for granted place, that for me is not humble. It's not healthy way to interact with bhakti. But you can disagree with me, of course. It's just my opinion. Yogamaya raised her hand, so Sampurva Paksha is coming. I'm opposing this.
There's two things. The first thing is that I always thought that Srila Prabhupada said that you should go to Vrindavan only for a short period of time. Because you can make really terrible offences there. And you should go and do your service or what have you and then leave. That's what I had heard.
Yeah, he say different things, of course, to different people, but in general, he made this point like maximum, I think, 2-3 days, he said.
Wow.
Yes.
3 days.
Unless and until you're having some instruction of, which, of course, again, no, I will time, place, and circumstance. No, I wouldn't say that also Prabhupada will say that to everyone in every moment, but I think that was kind of, in my opinion, to make a point. No, like to make a point of don't go just to a holy place like that, just like casually, like going for shopping, so to say, or like as a tourist. No, again, we want to be pilgrims. We don't want to be tourists. So and those are very profound places. So, and those are very also intense places, and where you will find things that are out of the normal. So if you have no proper preparation, you can be in that, seeing all that mundane, ordinary, criticized. So, yeah.
And also the last time I was there, this isn't the second question, this is just sharing. They were actually discouraging people to go there to die because they don't have the space or the room.
Yeah, Vrindavan is getting small in one sense for so many people. Yeah.
But my second question was, how do you feel, how do you find sacredness in material matter? And it just seems to me that we should automatically be finding sacredness in material matter as we believe in a creator. So he's obviously created everything if we believe in him. So how has it crept in that we don't, that we need to get out of it, or it's bad, or it's negative? Is it something that, or could it be something like scientists have, the whole scientist philosophy of like a godless society, or a they can manipulate matter without without any creator, or do you understand what I'm saying? It's I just don't understand how
we somehow stopped seeing matter as sacred.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't blame scientists. I will blame religion. Because historically religion has created this huge gap has put God so far from the world. Historically, many religions, Christianity, us, who knows, everyone, have put God living somewhere else. No? God is utterly transcendent. And of course, God is transcendent, but God is also immanent. No? They have these two terms, immanence and transcendence. Krishna says that in the Gita also. I'm outside of everything, I'm inside of everything. So immanence means he's everywhere, inside of everything. Transcendence is beyond everything. But historically, and there's, and I quote that that's the third book I'm writing. There is some research done as decades ago by one scholar on how the ecological crisis we are going through now has been mostly basically started by religion. Because God has been presented so much removed from the world that the world ends up being seen as profane, as without divine presence. God is somewhere else in the sky, above the clouds, transcendent, and this world is kind of the workings of the devil, Maya, prison house. We have our own version of all that. No? And Krishna is somewhere else with the gopis, with the gopas, spiritual world, and here is the damned place. So no wonder if you start to see the world in that way, you don't treat the world very kindly, and you neglect the place, and you exploit it, and then you want to leave as soon as possible and leave the whole thing over there for the next generation. So I will say that, I mean, in one sense, I mean, there's a place to do some elegant criticism of materialistic science, but in many ways, science is, in many ways, not in all ways, but in many ways, science takes care of the world in many ways, more than religious people. No, so there is a place to even revert the argument. Because it's easy to find the enemy, right? The common enemy. Oh, all these materialistic scientists are atheists and godless. They are to blame for whatever is happening. Instead of, probably it's us first, no? And many, not all, but many circles in science are really concerned to improve the living standards in the world in a natural sense, to preserve resources. I mean, many, even if they're atheists. I mean, it's not that if you don't believe in God, you are destroying the planet. I know many people who do not believe in God, and they are but their God, so to say, is the planet, is matter, and they take care of matter as much as they can, which is something that one should appreciate also. But yeah, there is a big case to make of religious people removing God from the world to such a point that this world has no presence of the divine, and that has been, how to say, imprinted in the collective unconscious for generations. So no wonder maybe we just received that template unconsciously, and that's why we may not immediately see that. Probably when we were children, we lived more in an enchanted world, no? And perceiving sacredness, even if we were not able to use these lofty words, the sacredness, but you were having the vision, and then probably you became religious. Yeah, we became educated, quote unquote, and we started to lose the actual vision. We started to incorporate other ideas but I would say, all of us, we can have those memories from childhood that show that was there. No, that's still there. Where is the vision? Where has the vision gone? Which glasses, which spectacles, again, have I put now? And how much do I need to respect environment? Go back to the spectacular. So, yeah. That will be my main point, trying to offer constructive criticism to our own tradition to begin with, because it's easy always to point, and there's always someone else doing it wrong, but let's start at home first. Let's clean out our own room before trying to change the world. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. Is there anything else for concluding? I mean, tomorrow we have one more circle gathering. We'll now decide at which time and all the details, but before that, anything else you would like to share, to ask today? Okay. We can put the discussion to rest. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you for everything. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpataru Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari Hari Bol.